Fox 35 News starts now. Tracking the tropics.
I'm Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Ian Cassett in Orlando with a check of the tropics here on this Monday. And we now have two tropical systems that we are monitoring. One, Tammy, that has been around for a little bit, moved through the Eastern Caribbean, bringing some heavy rain to the Lesser Antilles. And the newest one that's on the board, Tropical Depression 21. Now, 21 is not expected to last very long. It is expected to bring some heavy rains to Nicaragua, and that is going to be the extent of its impacts, as it doesn't really have a whole lot of time to work with here, as we are looking at a system that formed right off of the coast. So with this, it is expected to move inland, bringing some heavy rains to Central America. It's moving west at 5 miles per hour, so it could lead to some flooding there, but it will be moving westward, go into the eastern Pacific, and then likely be eventually just fall apart. You see that with our Fox model. Shows you the rain. There's some highlands that's going to be rolling over, and then it might survive. We'll see, but it will end up being just a low pressure system probably as it makes its way onto the other side of Central America. Let's talk about Tammy now. Hurricane Tammy, as of the 5 o'clock update, still a Category 1 storm. It's now moved northward. It's just over the Atlantic waters. It is expected to continue moving to the northeast, but you kind of see it looks like a shrimp where it's going to be making that west turn. Where is that west turn coming from? It has to do with it interacting with a high pressure system and the jet stream. What is likely to happen is that as it moves into some cooler waters, it will weaken, but also interact with the jet stream that could make it into a stronger system, just wouldn't be tropical anymore because it's going to be seeing some drier air and the jet stream kind of ripping it apart. But it is still expected to be moving to the west, so it's not going to be moving towards the United States. Instead, what's likely to happen is that it is going to fall apart, but it will have impacts felt across the East Coast, specifically in Florida, where we could see, with that high pressure system and with Tammy out in the western Atlantic, some larger waves will be felt, and that rip current risk goes up. You see it here. Forecast shows that the waves will be picking up here. It is kind of a combination of the two. It's not just Tammy and it's not just the high pressure system. It's both. When you have a high pressure and a low pressure system interacting, you get winds because the pressure change is happening. So looking at this week, we're going to see some larger waves along the coastline of Florida, where we could see waves up to 4 to 7 feet at times, peaking likely Wednesday and Thursday, and then farther out into the sea up to 9 feet. Small craft advisories will be in effect here for this week, given that we are going to have rough surf conditions. Overall, what impacts can we expect here in Florida? Tuesday through Friday, a high rip current risk is expected. This means it is not safe to get into the water and swim. Even if you are a great swimmer, you shouldn't be in the waters. So that is going to be the case throughout the week. It's still warm here in Florida, but that rip current risk is something that is important. We have, whenever we have these high rip current risk, unfortunately, we do have rescues that are happening and also fatalities. So very important to heed warnings. We have the 4 to 7 foot dangerous surf, larger breaking waves, resulting in that higher rip current risk. As we look now at where we are in the 2023 hurricane season, not much time left overall we're past the peak, so we still do have potential for activity, as you see with 21, but with the names, we are already up to Tammy. Vince and Whitney are the only two that remain on the list. We do have a reserve list, but we'll see if we get to that. At this time of the year, what we look for is typically in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. We kind of get these homegrown systems. Less systems that are coming from West Africa and more that are coming from closer to home. But with El Nino, typically it makes it difficult to develop because you have this still higher wind shear. You look at the sea surface temperatures over the Gulf of Mexico. They've come down some, but it's still above average, sitting in the lower 80s and then into the mid 80s in the Caribbean. This means it's still warm enough for these tropical systems to develop. It just takes the right scenario where if we have a front that stalls out, that could lead to a low pressure system developing, and from there it just depends on the steering flow, which direction it's going in. But these sea surface temperatures are still warm enough for tropical systems to develop. We typically see less systems as we go into the season, but there is still possible late October and into November to continue to see these systems. And you look at the hurricane season, we are obviously well past the peak, which was September 10th. We are now here on the board showing you that we are starting to see that drop in activity as the sea surface temperatures come down. We have higher levels of wind shear because we're seeing that jet stream become more active moving to the south. So overall, we're going to continue to monitor things here in the hurricane season, especially for the Caribbean islands and for the Gulf Coast, as there is still a possibility for tropical systems. As we saw last year with Nicole, we had a system in November. So you can't ever take your eye off the ball here, and we never do here at Fox 35. You can depend on us here at Fox 35. I am Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Ian Cassett.
Stay safe and track storms with the Fox 35 Storm Team app.